I'm Robin Crane, and this is the Growing Your Financial Business the Woman's Way podcast. Listen, I was a financial advisor for over a decade, and I got so sick of the old archaic strategies that your grandpa used to get clients. What the industry teaches today is still so outdated and just doesn't work anymore. So I had to find a better way for myself, and then I got obsessed with sharing these how-tos with other women like me. The stuff I teach doesn't require giving up your life, your sanity, or your family time. I want women like you to have it easier than I had it, so you can thrive in the industry. I've now helped thousands of women grow their financial businesses to multiple six figures, some even seven figures per year. So on this podcast, you're going to get an inside look at how they did it so you can do it too. Let's dive into the show.
Welcome. I am here with Emily Ransone, and Emily is an author, and I'm we were going to kind of bypass this about the book, but I got excited by the title. It's called Growth Junkies Unite. And I think we're going to have a lot to talk about growth junkies, but I really want to hear a little about this. But she's also an EOS Implementer. She's the owner of a commercial furniture business. So very multifaceted, got a lot going on here. Can we start a little bit with the book? Like, tell me just a little bit about this Growth Junkies Unite. What does it mean? Because it means something to me, and I don't know if it's the same to you, but I'm very curious.
You know, that's the thing is that, isn't it beautiful when we get to interpret things in a way that is so personal to us? And this was meant to be sort of evocative, like to get people, the juice is flowing, so to speak. And that's really what it's designed to do. And it's the subtitle of it says a simple guide to invigorate your journey, because that's really what it's meant to do, is just to give you some thought-provoking ideas and counsel that you can use at any point in your journey. And let's face it, there's kind of two ends of the stick. I'd rather be at the growth end than the dying end of that stick, right? And so I'm constantly looking for ways to challenge myself and inspire. And this came at a time where I was in a period of tumultuous change and looking to kind of ground into some truisms of mine that could help me move through this period of change with more resiliency and ease. And so it's very.
What was the specific change? That sounds juicy.
Yeah. Oh, it is super juicy. So I am a 49-year-old mama of a 10-month-old named Vivian, and she is a blessing, years in the making. And so this was a pivotal point in that journey. It was also a pivotal point in my furniture business journey. We have a commercial real estate business that's in office furniture, and we were changing the business model mid-flight. I liken it to flying a 747, reading the manual to how to fly the plane and changing it to a Dreamliner all at the same time. And frankly, we couldn't have made that change to our business model if we hadn't been running the business thanks to EOS. And we'll talk about that as well, but it's the entrepreneurial operating system. And so this was just a time where it was this nexus point of business and career and personal, and all these things were, in flux, if you will. None of the planes had landed, right? Mm-hmm. We'd taken off and we were midair and we were trying to find our landing gear on all this stuff. And so this was meant to really help me ground into creating a pathway for more resiliency and ease through change. And it's really important that we all find that for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And all this does is, you'll see, this is a very thin book. It looks like a CD pool case. I am a soundbite gal. And so there are a ton of bullet points and, easy places to find some quick nuggets. You could tuck this in a bag.
Can you just read one of them? So if you're just listening, she's holding up a book, but I love that your book is short, because my last book is like 286 pages. And I'm like, who's going to read that? I mean, you should. If you're listening, you should totally read it. But it's a lot.
Pick up Robin's book.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even have the link right now, but I think it's robincrane.com/free book. I'm not sure if it works, but it's a lot. And I'm like, my next book, I want it to be shorter. So 80 pages, so that people can get through it. And after reading that book the other night too, I was like, I read that in 10, 15 minutes. It's so satisfying. So I love that. You have a nugget in there you can read us?
Yeah. The thing that I found is that when I read a lot of these kinds of books, whether you're calling them, business forward books or self-help books or what have you, whatever, genre label, I find that you can sum up the learning in a 1 to 2 page book summary really quickly and get most of the nuggets that you need. And again, if we live in this soundbite world and, we're trying to do more with less, in my mind, that's the gift, is packaging something in a way that makes it easily accessible, easily digestible. And one thing I do is provide a free toolkit where it has the source material of where I gained all this, this learning and this information. So if people want to go get more, they've got like my top 10 TED Talks and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just flipped to a page. Literally, I just opened the book and I opened to a page that's got, of course, some bullet points. So here are a few quick things you can do if you start to feel that pull dragging you down. So I talk about the emotional guidance system that we all have internally and how it's either sucking you down into the vortex of hell, or the
vortex of hell.
It's a downward spiral or it's an upward spiral. And once it starts sucking you in, you can get really, that lizard brain can start to run. And so catch the thought and observe where it's coming from. It's usually fear and scarcity. Mm-hmm. Second bullet, take a moment to choose how you want to work with that emotion. Third, shift your focus from your lizard brain hijacking control over your emotions by, and here are some sub-bullets, switching to a thought of appreciation about someone or something. Go for a walk, watch or listen to a comedy, call someone who makes you laugh, do a small task to get a little shot of adrenaline, write down thoughts and reframe them to positive, such as, what can I learn from this? So there you go.
I love that. Get that book. Okay, give them the link. I was doing that at the end, but just give them the link to get that book because that was awesome.
It's so easy. It's literally Growth Junkies Unite. And for your listeners, there's a /VIP and we can put it in the notes. So the show notes. So it's super easy and they'll get a nice little discount and the free toolkit as well.
Love it. And she wasn't even coming here to promote the book, but I got so excited about the title. I'm like, I want to hear about it. So cool. I love that stuff. So let's talk about EOS though. So you had a business, or you have a business, but at the point there were challenges and you feel like EOS saved you. And by the way, I meant to say this because I try to close all loops, which isn't always the case, but the lizard brain that she talked about is that part in the back of your brain that like is designed for fight or flight. And it's just all about survival mode and safety. And so we're constantly not thriving because that part of our brain is just trying to keep us safe. Just in case we missed that, I meant to say that and then I forgot. And here it is. Okay. So anyway, going back to, these are real conversations here, going back to EOS. So tell us a little about what EOS is, Entrepreneurial Operating System. I've heard about it. I've read some of the books. Rocket Fuel is one of them, I know. And tell us why you're so passionate about it. Like, what did it do to help your business and how can we help the listeners with it?
Yeah. The thing that I love about EOS is that it's for any type of business in any industry. Now, when I say type of business, I mean different types of backgrounds. It can be family run or, small to medium size. It's not really for like the Googles and Apples of the world, but it really is something where, for those of us that have come up through business, I never really was taught how to run a business. They don't teach you that with an MBA program. It's kind of the school of hard knocks. And I remember the first business that I ran, I felt like I was grasping at all these different books and workshops and things like that, trying to find the thing. And I struggled. And it was like, my leadership team and the team that I worked with, they were kind of like, well, we'll just wait Emily out and then she'll just get the next workshop du jour going. Right.
That's so funny because this is like all the like my COO, it's like, and my ad agency team, they're like, Robin's going to a seminar. What's going to happen? She's coming back with a new idea, So like now we like have these, we're like, there's no implementing new ideas for like, this quarter, like we can put it on the next thing, but we have to be very careful. And we didn't do EOS, but we work with a guy named, maybe you're familiar, Alex Sharfin. He was on my podcast. He has a podcast called Momentum Podcast. Similar ideas just with like the operations and stuff. And I don't know enough about EOS to say what's different and what's not, but well, let's go forward and you'll see.
Okay. So the cool thing is that there are 3 results. So we ended up running our business 8-9 years ago. We tried to self-implement and do it our DIY. That we crashed and burned the airplane very, very quickly. Like that was horrible because we didn't have time to try to do the work to implement and try to learn while we were doing it. Right. And
did you actually crash the airplane? Like, did you go bankrupt? Did you go to zero?
No, we didn't go bankrupt. But we, for example, we invited the wrong people to the leadership. We invited,
how big was the team and how big was the company?
$50-60 million business. We had a team of about 45 to 50 people. And, we made some mistakes. And so I liken having a coach to measuring twice and cutting once. They can help you see your blind spots and look at things from a different perspective. And the idea is to ask challenging questions so that you as a client can go through self-discovery, right? Because that's how you learn, right? There's beauty in making those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the growth happens. So if you choose to see it that way, there's opportunity there. There's gold in them, their hills, as I like to say. So EOS delivers three things. We call it vision, traction, healthy. Vision from the standpoint of getting a team 100% aligned and on the same page about where they want to go and how they want to get there. Traction from the standpoint of distilling down that clear picture into actionable steps with discipline and accountability, so that when you look around in the company, you see 100% of those people all moving in the same direction towards that same goal. And then healthy means, gosh, if we're going to show up to work every day.
What was the last one? Healthy. Okay.
Yeah. Healthy from the standpoint of, let's face it, if we're going to work with these people every single day, let's enjoy the ride, right? And so we find that a lot of times the dysfunction happens or we end up, it feels icky because we don't have crystal clear, clean communication, and we're not working in a cross-functional, healthy manner. And so this really brings about team health in a natural, organic way and through a variety of workshops as we go through the journey. So those are the three deliverables.
Okay, that's cool. So let me ask you this, and I'm taking notes myself here and writing this down because if I have to repeat this back, if I don't have notes, I'm screwed. So you said vision, traction, and health.
Healthy.
Healthy. I actually wrote down healthy, but it seemed like it should be like not healthy, but okay. So vision, traction, healthy. So let's just say some women here are listening and they have a financial business and they're running the show themselves. Maybe they have a small team, like maybe they have, one admin, or maybe a lot of them are sharing admins or they're sharing teams, which is a little crazy to me. I don't know how that works, but I definitely get some advisors like that. So if they're a more successful advisor, then they're going to probably have at least, a couple people on their team, but it's actually like, there's very few that I've come across, and I'm working with women, but that are just like have a full blown team. And we have a team of maybe, 10, 11, 12, something like, I think it's 10 right now, but not including consultants, which is like, then we got, 4 or 5 consultants almost. But that's considered to me for, 7-figure business, a pretty small team. But for these ladies, like many of them might just have an admin or 1 or 2 people. And if I'm wrong, please write into us so we know that you're talking to people with a big team. And so I know, so I don't mess up this whole podcast. But you can always send a message to support@robincrane.com and tell me everything you think. But how do they take that? Vision is pretty obvious, but you're talking about team aligned, where we want to go and how we're going to get there. Even if you don't have a team and you're just a 1-person show, knowing, like, being aligned with where you want to go and how to get there, like regardless of having a team or not, is pretty important. Yeah. I'm going to answer this and then I'm going to throw it back to you. Traction, you said, distilled down a clear picture with actionable steps and discipline and accountability. So if you don't have a team, we still need to get a clear picture of what you want, how you're going to get there, actionable steps. What are you going to do? Discipline and accountability. It's like, okay, you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and then you need to be accountable to it. Like if you don't do it.
That's so even if
holding you accountable, like how are you going to hold yourself accountable? And then healthy, let's enjoy the ride, like the team health. Well, I would say the same thing. I said I was going to ask you, and I decided to answer it myself because I like to talk. This is my challenge on asking on the podcast. So the healthy part, let's enjoy the ride. Like I think even if it's one person, it's like, shit, am I enjoying this business? Am I happy where I am? Yeah. Does this feel good, or does this feel like a downward spiral, like you said?
Oh my gosh. And so many of us can't pause. We call them clarity breaks in EOS language, but there is such a gift in the quiet space if you can carve out time for it. And early in the EOS journey, it's near to impossible to find it. As we work through the journey, you will find operational freedom to carve out time for things like a clarity break. And this is where you do find, gosh, I'm working with clients that I don't have core values alignment, or, we're not really seeing eye to eye. And I want to get clear on working with people on my team or with clients that, we do have that alignment. And that's the real gift there, where you get to have a lot more fun. And in my mind, if this is a short ride that we're all going around this planet, I want to make sure that my time is making a huge impact. 1, 2, that I'm doing great work, like something that feels very inspiring. 3, with people that I truly care about. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the nexus point in my mind. And so, for those I have 3 wealth managers I work with, and they have teams of 6 and even fewer. So this can scale. This can absolutely scale. And one of the things is there are some tools that even if you're a solopreneur, I use the 2-page strategic plan for my solo practice and for my office furniture business. And there is such value in having a personal plan, right? Because again, if you don't write it down, it ain't going to happen, as we like to say back in Oklahoma.
So I love that too, because I think it's the same thing. Like, we're both coaches, we understand the value. We've not just a growth junkie, but I often referred to myself back when I first started like personal growth and personal development as like a seminar junkie. Like, I was really hungry for that personal growth, which is why like the name of your book, I'm like, yes, we unite. Like, we want to grow, we want to learn, we want like lifelong learners and all this stuff. But I think as a coach, what's really interesting, and same thing with therapists and same thing with advisors, is like, we know the importance of having a coach. Like, it's hard to find a business coach who doesn't have a business coach. And I think though and to me, it's very incongruent for a business coach to not have a business coach. Like, it's just crazy to me, like, to not have mentors when you're like telling other people you need a mentor, like, cause there's always growth, right? There's never a point where you're like, I've arrived, there's no more to grow, I guess I'm done. Cause otherwise, like you said, other side of the stick, you're dying.
Well, and I call them a board of advisors for a reason. I mean, you're going to have somebody that you go to that's really financially, like the financial wizard behind the curtain, and you can ask those dumb questions that you're so embarrassed to ask, right? You've got someone else who may be, more around communication and interpersonal skills and emotional intelligence, the ability to read a room. You're going to have someone else around business acumen, right? And so there's different people for different things. And I think it's important to have this broad basis of those that you can seek for different opportunities that you come to. And so, it's, you can hire it, you can DIY it, but those who don't have it live a very lonely life, right?
By the way, just in case you don't know DIY term, that's do it yourself. Right. But awesome. Yeah. And I want to go back to that because you said having a personal plan. And I think a lot of advisors, and I'm calling you on your shit, if you don't mind, not you, I'm calling the audience. I can call you. But I'm talking about you listeners right now. I'm saying, if you're an advisor and you don't have advisors, there's incongruence. There's a problem there. Like
100%.
And you don't have an advisor, that it feels like to me incongruent, because if you're saying, hey, if I'm going to go to someone like you, let's say Emily, who has a $50 million company, and maybe it's more now, but $50 million company. And you're like, hey, I can help you when it comes to your personal wealth. But then you're not getting help when it comes to growing your business or the other areas of your life. Like, there's some lack of congruence there. And I think also, as a financial advisor, and I'm a CFP, and I used to be practicing, it's like, we believe in the plan. You have to have a plan. Like you said, if you don't write that down, you're not going to get the result, and it's the same thing. Like, I'm not a big believer in like a big business plan for me, but like,
no, you got to keep it simple, because if it's not simple, you won't use it. And that's the key, is that these things have to be, like I said earlier, actionable. If it's context and you're not applying it, then it's useless, right? You are wasting your time. I can't say that more passionately, but it's one of those things where, less is more. That's one of the ethos of EOS, is that you've got to narrow your focus to the fewest things that are going to get you the most results. We call it the 20-80 approach instead of the 80-20. Mm-hmm. So 20% of the things that are going to get you 80% of the results. And, that's really where the net gain happens, because there's a visual analogy from Stephen Covey where he has a table and he sets up a jar, and then he has a pitcher of water, and he's got rocks, pebbles, and sand. And he tries to fill it with the pebbles, sand, water, and then rocks, and it spills over. The water spills over. If you start with the rocks, i.e. the most important priorities, everything else will fit.
The big rocks, baby. Yep.
So that's the power of focus.
Yeah.
And if that's one nugget that your people listening today can come away with, that is critical, especially as we try to go through this post-pandemic world of figuring things out without a roadmap, right? No one gave
over. I'm just kidding. Yeah. I feel like this post-pandemic world is like it's over kind of, but is it? I don't know.
I think we're just all living with it, right? It's a new reality.
We're over it. That's for sure.
Yes.
But I want to reiterate that and kind of give my amen to that, because narrowing focus, when we first did our first million that we ever made was actually in 2019 and 2019. Yeah, it was 2019 because I had my baby in 2018, but was all about that. We're like, okay, what is the one driver? Like, what is the thing really driving the business? And we focused on that, and we did it better, and we did more of it. And then we hit our first million. And then, there's so many women who come to me who are all over the place, and that's okay. I understand, because I'm often all over the place. But I will tell you, like, I have to share my thoughts, and there's a lot of them. And then I got to come back down to earth and be like, okay, what's the one thing I'm going to focus on now, which is not my normal brain doesn't want to do, because like, it's actually safer for me. My critter brain thinks like I can talk about, like, I want to talk about ideas after ideas after ideas.
Yeah. But you're a visionary. That's why.
A visionary, right? Not a
visionary.
Yes. And so the focus, like, that's what makes the money. Like, it's always what makes the money. And so if you want to grow your business, you want to do better, you've got to focus and figure out what are the drivers to the business, or maybe the one driver that's driving the business. And that's why I talk a lot about like ideal client and getting clear on who that person is, then putting your efforts towards that one person. Yeah.
Oh, when I got the chance to fire the clients that didn't pay us on time or didn't treat our team well, I mean, it was like we had a sales gong in the office, and we got to ring the gong when I was actually making those calls. And it was like, ding dong, the witch is dead. It was such a great day in the office, because nothing more instills trust in your people than when you show them that you value them more than that almighty dollar of a bad client.
Wait. I love that. But so you're saying that when you fired a client, you hit the sales gong, like the anti-sales gong?
Oh, yeah.
That's so cool. I love it.
It was so cool. It was such a great feeling when we were going through that EOS part of our journey, where we got the chance to really get centered on our true target market, our ideal client. And then we also did who is not the ideal client. And it was interesting going through that filter. And when I got to make a few of those phone calls, it was just like a huge boost in motivation. The team was fighting so much harder to make things happen, because they knew that we cared about them first. So huge. That's so cool.
Wait, I want to touch upon that for a second, because like, we women, I talked about this in a different podcast recently with Natalie Jill, just about, actually, I think it was on her podcast, but I said our number one fear is judgment. And especially I'm talking to women, and it's like, we're so scared of what people are going to think, and firing a client is really hard, even if you know it's not right. One, because you're afraid of losing the money, and two, because you're afraid of what they're going to think of you, even if they suck. Right. So to come to that and then to celebrate it, I think is really, really like admirable. And also to see, because like, it never feels good, like when someone doesn't want to work with us, they want to fire us, but then to put it in kind of the driver's seat where you're like, I get to choose, I get to be selective of, who I want to work with, and they have to deserve me. It's like, it turns everything around. And then to celebrate that, that's awesome. I love that you did that. That's
well,
cool.
And it really, it breeds such pride. I mentioned the word momentum, but the pride that we felt, that we had come to this place where we had that ability to have the confidence and stand firm in our beliefs and our core values, and make sure that we were using that as a filter for how we not only bring on new teammates, but also new clients. It was such a beautiful, talk about health, that third part that it really united us. It really brought us together. So I can't recommend.
So where were you? Because you said when you first started EOS, you're at 50 million, 50, 60 million. Where'd you go from there?
I think we got up to like 70, 80 million. And then we started to shift our interest in terms of changing the business model from higher profit to actually looking more at net profit. We had scaled up and down the West Coast and done all these crazy things. And really the net profit wasn't there. And what we realized was that in order for us to create a sustainable growth path, especially through economic changes that we couldn't influence, we wanted to make sure that we determined our own destiny. And so in the spirit of grow or die, we made some serious changes to the business, to the point where we have a different business unit now that's called a direct to consumer model. And I won't get into all that. It was truly something that we could not have done if we hadn't done all this foundation building, both with how we run our business and with making sure we have the right people in the right seats. Because let's face it, when you look at the 6 key components of any business in any industry, people touch the other 5 out of those 6. So if you will work on your people first,
Right.
the other 5 components get easier and easier, right? So there's another nugget for you.
I love this. So this is cool. So I've been super obsessed with profit lately too. And I think this is really cool. We actually have an event coming up called Position Yourself for Profits. And we've had this for 5 years, 6 years. And ironically, like I have my latest book's called Make More Money, Help More People. And even back then when I wrote the book years ago, I was like, just let's make more money, let's get to the multiple millions and let's make as much money as we possibly can, because I had this belief that like, well, the more money I make, and I wasn't even thinking profit. I just thought like every dollar I bring in is going to be transformation. Like that equals transformation for someone. So I just got to bring in more dollars. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that if you're just bringing in more dollars, and I didn't think of it as the money, I thought of it as a transformation. Like for every dollar, $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever that we bring in, we're transforming so many more lives, And then what I've realized, I still believe in like the more money you make, the more people you help. But I also believe that like the profit is so important, because the problem is that we've come up with actually scaling our business, which has been a challenge because we have such a small audience of female financial advisors. But that challenge is like, holy crap, like if we're still struggling to keep this alive, and I wouldn't say struggling, but like, let's say frustrated without having, it go the way we want.
Butterfly pushing the boulder uphill.
Yeah, it's a little challenging, right? It's like, oh man, it's not going to transform any lives if we can't keep this alive, right?
That's right.
And so the profit has to happen. It has to be to a place where you get to create the life you want, the business you want, the transformation you want. And then also I'm so much more of a fan of like going deep than going wide. Like as much as I want to help and increase the footprint of women in the industry to 50%, if I only help them a little bit and they just get a download or they just come to, one little like webinar or something, I didn't really change their life as much as I could if they worked with us and which means they paid more money, but they had a bigger transformation, and then that goes back to the make more money, help more people. But I just feel like it all also is like the depth, like, and it sounds like when you're willing to, and it's like office furniture, you're thinking like, what do you need an ideal client when it comes to office furniture? It's just office furniture. I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm saying it like from that perspective.
No, it's so true. It's so true.
Then you're like, no, this is who we want to work with. And this is why, and we could probably make more per customer and then like have better margins and just super intentional. I think that's another thing too. Like obviously whether it's EOS or something like Simple Operations, it's the intention behind it. And that you're actually, whether it's ideal client, whether it's your marketing, whether it's, even your sales conversations, that there's intention behind it. It's not like half-assed and it's not haphazard. So give me like one more little nugget and then we'll make sure they know how to find you.
Yeah, I think, from a standpoint of another nugget for your folks listening here, we talked about a couple of things, a couple of themes, right? One is, making sure that you're looking at using the intentionality instead of reverting to the lizard brain. So, if you're in a situation and you're feeling emotionally hijacked, you want to choose the response rather than just knee-jerk react, right? So that's the first nugget we talked about. The second nugget we talked about is the power of focus, right? Making sure that we're understanding how to filter to make the right decisions. So this will help you feel confident in decision-making and leveraging your energy to get the most out of it. That's the power of focus. The third thing that I would say for the people here that we've already talked about is making sure that you have a plan. And you all know this if you're wealth managers and wealth planners and you're already in that industry. It's that you've got to have something very simple and succinct that you use. And that's the dovetail or the part 3A that I would say is make sure you're using the tools that you're going to use consistently, number one. Number two, make sure you use them on a regular basis, whether it's quarterly or monthly. Set a cadence, schedule it on your calendar, set it and forget it, right? And then the next thing you're going to want to do is make sure you're constantly up-leveling those tools. So we've got to make sure that they're being used. So you've got to refine them, right? Because if we're not looking to make improvements, then why are we here? So those are kind of some themes that we talked about. And, those are really kind of the fine-tuned nuggets. I mean, if they want additional information, I highly recommend Gino Wickman's book, Traction, or the book that you mentioned, which is called Rocket Fuel. There's a number of books in the EOS library that are amazing for getting some of these quick nuggets. And if they'd like, I also do a free 90-minute workshop where I literally take you through the 6 key components that I've mentioned, and also the proven process for how to implement EOS, and whether they choose to do it on their own. A lot of these tools are free. Like the 2-page strategic planning tool called the Vision Traction Organizer, it's free. And I'm happy to email that to them. So, they don't have to pay for an implementer or a coach if that's just not where they are right now.
But I would say they'll get better results if they do.
They will. They'll get better results faster. And for some people, that's just not where they are. And so we've got to meet people where they are. I always say you got to, I'm going to walk with you or run with you, whatever you want. It's up to you to be hungry enough for the journey, right?
Okay. So what's the best place? Where can they find you or find those resources besides?
I'm very Googleable, very Googleable. So Emily Ransone, it's Ransone, and that's very Googleable. So you can do Emily Ransone EOS. And then if you want to email me, you can do emily.ransone@eosworldwide.com. And also the Growth Junkies Unite website. So it's growthjunkiesunite.com /VIP. So a number of places where you can find me, but you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. So looking forward to connecting with your listener very soon. See what I can do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was super, super fun. And for all of you listening, we'll see you next time on Growing Your Financial Business the Woman's Way. Thank you.
I actually have the link for the tag challenge, the appointment generator challenge. So instead, you can just go to femalefinancialadvisors.com and register right now so that you can get 5 quality appointments in just 5 days. Now, this is not around, you having to talk to friends and family and get all awkward. This is not about you having to spend marketing dollars online or create a whole funnel. This is going to be easy. It's simple. It happens in 5 days. If I can get you 5 quality appointments in 5 days, then you know that you can have the best year of your life, because you just need to get in front of more of the right people. We will walk through it together as we do it. So do not miss this. And if you're smart, do VIP, spend a few extra bucks, and you can actually spend time with me on Zoom where I can connect with you, get to know you, and really help you get those quality appointments so that you can grow your business. And go ahead again, register at femalefinancialadvisors.com. You'll find it all there. It's coming up very, very soon. So make sure to register, claim your spot, get in on this, get excited about it, block your calendar, because you need to spend about an hour to an hour and a half a day with me on the Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so that you can get these results. And it does work. The most appointments I think we got in those 5 days, someone, I think it was Dana, got 33 appointments. So you could be my best student and go well beyond the 5 quality appointments. Go to 10, go to 15, go to 20, and set yourself up for the best year ever. Can't wait to see you at the Tag Challenge. See you there. Thank you again for listening to Growing Your Financial Business the Woman's Way.